As part of the machine learning intro series, I want to cover what are the different aspects of machine learning in today's video. This will also help you to determine whether you should pursue machine learning or not. You should pursue machine learning as a career, as a stream of specialization or not. Machine learning, if you really see, is actually at the intersection of three things. One is math, the other is programming, okay, and the third one is what is known as domain knowledge, okay. So machine learning is actually at the intersection of these three things. Machine learning, you may already be aware, is about solving problems by detecting patterns. So pattern recognition or pattern detection is at the core of machine learning. How do you actually detect patterns? We detect patterns using mathematics, right? You may ask, how does this happen? The characteristics of patterns are represented in the form of numbers. That is how the mathematics actually come in. The characteristics of patterns that we talk about, right? Suppose, for example, I have a graph, right? I have a visual. This represent the sales in different years for a company, right? Let's say this is financial year 20, this is financial year 21, and this is, let's say, financial year 22. If I have to forecast, and this is sales, right? And this is sales, and this is my x-axis, time periods, okay, different months. If I have to forecast 2023, how will it be? It's going to be like this, right? How do I say that? How do I say that FY23 is going to be like this? I am saying this because I have studied the pattern for these 3 years, right? FY20, FY21, FY22. I have studied. The peaks are progressively increasing, right? I can even put a dotted line to highlight that, right? So I study the pattern for these 3 years and I project for the next financial year. How will these patterns, that peak in a particular year, peak in a peak in a particular month, trough or the lowest point in a particular month, how are they represented? They are represented in the form of numbers and equations. That is where mathematics comes. In this, I probably have about 36 data points, right? A data point for each month. There are 12 data points here, 12 data points here, and 12 data points here. So in all, I have 36 data points. So I'm able to understand the patterns just by seeing the graph itself, right? But just by seeing the visual, I can spot the pattern. But what if I have more data points, right? Let's say if I have 3,600 data points. Will I be able to do a good job in identifying patterns just by looking at the visual? Maybe not. If I have one more zero, let's say here, 36,000 data points, it's going to be very, very difficult for me. As the data points increases, it becomes that much more difficult to identify patterns, right? That is where programming comes. If it is a simple problem with fewer data points, I can use the mathematics I know and I can solve it. But if I have more data points, I need programming. That is where a programming language like Python comes in. Python is the number one programming language for machine learning. Of course, domain knowledge is important. It is a given. If, let's say, you are developing a solution for insurance industry, you must know the nitty-gritties of the insurance industry. If, let's say, you are detecting a healthcare application, okay, you are, let's say, uh, developing a prediction model for, let's say, heart disease or diabetes prediction, you must know the finer details of the factors that impact diabetes or heart disease. In the case of insurance, what is relevant to the insurance industry must be known to you, right? That is where domain knowledge comes. So when you are starting off, you may not have the domain knowledge. You will use the expertise of domain experts. But you must know mathematics and programming. If you are a student, or if you are a professional with just 1 or 2 years of experience and wanting to move into a machine learning career, right, you must have an appreciation for mathematics and programming. Don't get scared, okay? The world of programming has made it easier for us to apply the concepts of mathematics very easily without knowing too much of mathematics. But if you are a person who hates mathematics, okay, if you are a person who hates numbers, I will say don't come to machine learning. That is a clear no. Okay. I'm not asking you to love numbers. I'm not asking you to, be an expert in mathematics. No. On the contrary, if you are a person who hates numbers, who hates mathematics, machine learning is not a career for you. So you can use this to determine what you want to do, right? Because machine learning is a lot about mathematics, right? As I said, machine learning exists at the intersection of these three things. Domain knowledge you will gain over a period of time. Industry also doesn't expect you to know the domain perspectives, right? But industry expects you to know programming a lot and some amount of mathematics, right? So I will cover what are the mathematics needed, in this foundation, in this machine learning basic series. Okay, uh, but for now, understand that machine learning is at the intersection of these three things. The patterns, machine learning works by identifying patterns. That is the mode of AI that is prevalent in the world today. And patterns and their characteristics are represented in the form of mathematics. That is where, in the form of numbers, that is where knowledge of mathematics comes in handy. In the simple example that I showed, if the number of data points are fewer, you can just by observing, you can identify the patterns. But if the number of points are more, you cannot identify patterns with visual inspection. You need programming, right? So that is how machine learning exists, right? So I hope you understand the different facets of machine learning, and so you can decide how you want to build your career, right? Some people may choose to focus a lot on mathematics because they love mathematics. Some people will say that I like programming, so I want to focus more on programming. That is fine. So in a machine learning career, you can focus more on programming and less on mathematics. And someone who loves mathematics a lot can say that, hey, programming is not my cup of tea. I want to focus more on mathematics. That's perfectly fine, right? However, someone pursuing, a math-oriented specialization of machine learning must know some basic elements of programming. Similarly, someone who loves to focus on the programming aspect of machine learning should know the basics of mathematics, right? You can't say that I'll focus only on mathematics and not worry at all about programming. That won't help. And similarly, you can't say that I'll focus only on programming and not worry about mathematics at all. That also doesn't help. You need to know the basics of mathematics and programming to succeed in machine learning, to succeed even to a very limited level. I'm not talking of a very high success. So if you are a student, if you are a young professional wanting to build a career in machine learning, learn the basics of mathematics that are relevant to machine learning and learn Python programming. These two will take you towards your goal. And domain knowledge, you can gain as you start working, right? You don't need to worry about domain knowledge. But be aware that machine learning exists at the intersection of these three things. Machine learning is a team effort, right? Okay, and I will see you in another machine learning basic series video.